Survivor Season 47 continues to be unexpected with new players emerging as the top dog. So let's get into episode 11. I can't believe we're saying that. I've said this the last few weeks, but this season's just kind of flying right on by. It's
really
very odd. I don't know how I feel about it yet. But anyway, so kind of post previous Tribal Council and Camp Life, kind of the night, I guess, of Tribal and then the next morning, we see two really interesting things happen. So one, Carolyn kind of goes on a apology tour, if you will, to Sue because they have been working very closely. But their third kind of close ally was Gabe, who Carolyn went against Sue and voted Gabe off the last time, if that made any sense. And so anyway, Carolyn does not want to lose Sue as an ally, though. It's really important to her. But Sue feels kind of betrayed because Sue's like, loyalty is everything to me, and you just proved to not be loyal. They're able to work it out, which did kind of make me happy because they're like a very unlikely duo, but I've kind of been about it.
Yeah, it's like a little mother-daughter duo.
I kind of enjoy it. Now, speaking of the two of them, we also see this brand new alliance of 5 kind of come together, consisting of Sue, Carolyn, Rachel, Teenie, and then Andy. And they kind of view themselves as the underdogs. But here's what's funny is, there's only 8 people left. So I'm like, 5 is the majority. So really, you're not the underdogs anymore at this point. But the way they saw it was like Kyle has been the comp beast. Sam's a more physical threat. And then Genevieve is like really smart. And people have been noticing that throughout the season. So I get it. After this, we see a boat come, and they all find out there's a little note that comes that says that someone is going to have to go on a journey, and either they can decide, or one person can choose to go, or if multiple people want to go, they'll have to draw a rock, and the person that pulls the purple rock will have to go. So a couple people say, no, I'm good, I don't want to. And then we see Sam and Genevieve both be very vocal about wanting to go. And then Rachel finally being like, I'll go as well, because with this new alliance form, she's like, I can't just let one of them go.
Right.
So they drop her rocks, Rachel goes. Here's what's interesting. A lot of these journeys we see, they end up going over to like one of the mountains and they have to hike and like do all these things. But this one was a barge, just quite literally in the middle of the ocean. Rachel arrives. Essentially how it works was there was this puzzle she had to solve in a very small amount of time. And she kind of started the timer herself, which was an interesting way they did it this time. But anyway, if she was to complete the puzzle, she gains an advantage that she will find out after. If she does not complete the puzzle, she loses her vote at that night's Tribal Council.
I thought this was a fun one, though.
I really enjoyed
the strategy behind it. And also, I did have this thought, though, when at the end of it, when it drags the whole thing into the water, I'm like, I hope those balls float, because it'd be bad if they all sunk. Because that's a deep, the way the line is, that was a deep part of the ocean they were in.
I will say, it looked really deep, but I know that they had like, they always had cameras down there, so I'm like, they figure out something. I'm sure there was like, and maybe it looked more intense than it was. But anyway, she does complete the puzzle. She did very good too, right in the nick of time.
Right.
And then she ends up finding out that she gains a block of vote advantage.
Can we also just say, Rachel's luck just continues to grow. She's gotten so many advantages and idols, it feels like. Every week she's like, oh, here's another thing I've got, and it just continues for her.
I'm kind of wondering, I'm wondering though what the editing is building this up to be, because part of me is like she's gonna be out next, or part of me is like she's gonna win, and they're just like really showing this very good arc.
Yeah.
I don't know, something big's gonna happen with her, and I'm not sure what that means
Right.
yet. So anyway, beyond this, we move into the immunity challenge, and this is kind of a Survivor classic that we've seen the last few seasons, another balancing act, if you will, but essentially this time they have to stack letters that spell out community going up. So you grab one, you go all the way down, stack it, go all the way back, and they have to stay up all the way until you have immunity spelled, and then you have to go all the way back to your starting standing post.
This was a pretty even challenge, honestly.
Yeah, I like this one because you always see, like, you think someone has the lead, and then they drop everything, and so it's just consistently changing. But what's not surprising here is that Kyle has been consistently doing very well in these challenges, so it comes down to him and Rachel kind of at the end. And just in the nick of time, again, talking about her having a lot of luck, she ends up pulling out the win. But Kyle was right behind her, like had
2 feet.
Like 2 feet, and he gained a big lead on her. She took her sweet time coming back that last kind of try, if you will.
I thought for a second he was going to catch her.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, go, Rachel.
But it's very interesting. I noticed a lot of people saying this on Twitter as well. It's like, this was Rachel's episode. You had her form a new alliance successfully, go on the journey successfully, and then now win immunity successfully.
Right.
And so it's very interesting. Again, it's like it all feels like it's building up to something that I don't quite understand just yet. Now, kind of pre-tribal, we see everyone kind of going back and forth between Genevieve and Kyle. It seems like the 5 that were built at the beginning of this episode are going to stay true to the 5. But it seems like they're weighing out. Kyle's obviously a huge physical threat, as I've said. He's won multiple immunity challenges. And then also Genevieve has just kind of seemed to be very smart and strategic, and people are picking up on that. And she stays very close to the vest, doesn't really let people in. It's kind of interesting. So when we move into Tribal Council, you can definitely tell that at this point in the game, tensions are high and that the game is getting to a lot of people.
Right.
You see Kyle kind of unsure of where he stands. You see Genevieve speak out about not letting people in and kind of being very unsure for the first time in this game of where things are at. But there is kind of this interesting moment where Genevieve is very vulnerable in saying that she doesn't really know how she feels. But then Carolyn reminds her of a quote that she said earlier in the season, which is interesting because Carolyn and Genevieve have not been working together, which makes me think one of like a few things, I guess. So firstly, I'm like, okay, either they're going to end up working together, and that was almost like foreshadowing, or Carolyn just building up jury votes, which is really smart on her part too. So I don't know. There's always, everyone has different strategies here. But in the end, Kyle does end up getting the majority of the votes.
Yeah.
And I have to say, okay, I'm actually pretty sad because he, one, has killed it this season. I really can appreciate, I mean, everyone that goes on the show deserves to win, but I can really appreciate his backstory. And I know that it like annoyed Sue, but I liked it. He had very humble beginnings. He kind of built up his life on his own.
And he seems like
big
a
family guy.
genuinely nice human in
Yeah,
general, too.
yes. And one of the most stand-up things I've seen in seasons is I like how when he was voted off, he did this very kind of friendly, loving goodbye that we don't have to see. So he
Right.
made everyone get up. He gave each of them a hug, thanked them very much for the opportunity and the experience that they all had together, and then also asked Jeff if he could give him a hug before he left. And I don't know, I just thought that was really special because a lot of people got bitter.
Tear up a little, just a tiny bit when he
Yeah.
hugged Jeff too. I was like, oh, Kyle.
Well, it really makes you realize, like, as silly as a lot of people see this show as, it makes you realize how big of a deal it is to the people that go on this show and how much it does mean to them.
Right.
So
Every week I'm like, could I do this show? And I'm like, I don't think I'd want to
Probably
be on
not.
Survivor
I'm-
multiple reasons.
I've always said it's the show that I would want to do only because it's so out there that I'm like,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do well. This is a known fact. But I'd be so curious to see how I fared that I'm like, I'm intrigued. I don't know. Anyway, the preview for next episode looks very good. It kind of seems like this 5 might end up turning on each other. Shocker.
Right.
So I'm interested to see how that plays out. But we're just a few weeks away from the finale.
Crazy.
So anything can happen. There's 7 people left now. Typically at 5 is when the finale is. So we'll see what happens. But a brand new episode of Survivor tonight on CBS. Don't miss it. Tune in.